The production of a multitude of products, both essential and non-essential, requires a substantial amount of resources, including water, energy, and other raw materials. Unfortunately, many of these resources are finite. To ensure sustainability and promote environmental responsibility, it's crucial to seek alternatives. How do we go about achieving this? That's what we'll talk about today. Hello and welcome to Eco India. I'm Sanuta Raghu. Now, centuries ago, people sought to protect their feet from the elements and rough terrain with rudimentary footwear made from plant material and eventually leather. Despite numerous advances in shoe designs and materials, affordability has remained a persistent issue. A relatively new concern, however, is how sustainable our shoes are.
Street-side cobblers have long been a fixture of city life in India. Their small shops dot residential neighborhoods and markets, part of a traditional repair and reuse economy that extends the shelf life of shoes. It's a sustainable approach, but it's on the decline. India's economic growth has opened up new opportunities for the marginalized communities that long pursued this profession. It's also given consumers greater footwear choices and money to spend on them. Today, the massive footwear industry churns out products made predominantly of synthetic materials. They are harder to repair and recycle and often end their life dumped in the environment.
If they talk about the constituent part of the this footwear, mostly if I'm talking about not the upper, the sole is basically made from different types of plastic materials. You have polyurethane, or you have PVC and all those things. So basically that is one of the things which doesn't get absorbed by the environment or biodegrades. And also there is one more very important aspect of these threads are the microfibers, which is going in huge numbers to the environment.
It's not just this waste. The production process itself places a huge burden on the environment. India is the second largest global producer of footwear after China, manufacturing 2 billion pairs a year, involving hundreds of production stages that consume energy, mostly derived from burning coal.
If I'm talking about greenhouse gases, if in terms of carbon footprint, we are talking about a greenhouse gas, it contribute around 1.4% of total emission, which is credited to footwear industry.
Growing awareness about the footwear industry's environmental impact is driving a search for more sustainable production models. Two former athletes from Delhi began looking for a way forward and started a social enterprise that uses part of its profits to provide shoes to people who can't afford them.
Being runners, we were very close to shoes, running. We knew that, every 3-4 months we have to change our shoes. So that's where we thought, let's go deeper into it. I researched and found that there are 350 million shoes which go to landfills each year, and at the same time there are people who are walking barefoot. So this was a clear connect where if we start repairing the shoes, if we start upcycling the shoes, we can prevent them from going to landfills and give it to someone who requires it.
GreenSoul has set up a large network of collection centers across India, where people can donate unwanted footwear. Thousands of old or damaged shoes, slippers and sandals are then processed.
The shoes that we collect, we separate all the parts like the laces, insole and sole, and the upper part of the shoe. We remove all these and categorize whatever can be used. After sorting the parts, we upcycle whatever we can and use all the other parts to recycle into raw materials for new shoes.
The entire process is done by hand, transforming the separated parts into functional footwear. Proceeds from sales have helped provide more than 500,000 pairs to school children in rural areas. Another company is turning to footwear production to cut the volume of junk in the environment. Mumbai-based startup Paduks makes shoes from discarded tire tubes, cork, and fabric.
This, as you're seeing right now, is cut directly from the tire, from the discarded tire that usually lands up in the landfill. This is the upgraded version, which also ensures the finesse. This is a mixture of tire with some other elements that are recyclable and sustainable.
By definition, a truly sustainable shoe needs to be durable, made from non-polluting or recyclable material, and it should be manufactured with renewable energy sources. Aparajita Sangotra admits that the bar is high.
No product, in my understanding, is 100% sustainable, because if it's just eco-friendly and not durable, then it's not sustainable.
Even so, consumers, especially among India's urban youth, are warming up to the idea of climate cooling shoes.
You know, you need to feel good about what you're wearing in the end of the day. So I think when I wear things which are sustainable, I feel good myself. So yeah, that's a win-win for me.
That mindset is good news for makers of greener shoes. But experts say the best way to minimize footwear's ecological footprint is for consumers to buy less and prolong the lives of the shoes they already own.
Now, the average person who menstruates will use 17,000 sanitary products throughout their lifetime, assuming they have access to them in the first place, a recent survey suggested. These products use vast quantities of resources like wood fibers, cotton, plastic and chemicals to be produced on a global scale. Most of these are not biodegradable, leading to a significant environmental impact. This was the driving force behind a revolutionary invention in Tamil Nadu.
This is no ordinary sanitary napkin. It's completely biodegradable and it disappears quickly. All you need to do is bury it in soil once you've used it, leave it undisturbed, and it's gone in just 15 days. It was invented by Preeti Ramadas, a polymer scientist and entrepreneur based in Chennai, India.
When they use the napkins, they don't think about the afterlife of your napkin. It's just one napkin. I throw just one napkin. This is what all the women think.
Conversations about menstruation itself are becoming less of a taboo in India. But safe disposal of menstrual hygiene products is still a huge environmental issue.
There's just so much misinformation out there that I feel is the main problem. And this is not something we can just shun and say it's a lower income group or a rural problem. It's something that we see in urban areas itself.
At the center of her research, Preeti prioritized not just the environment, but also the women who use it.
All of us would have had this bacterial vaginosis, the bacterial infections that we come across during periods. That comes because of such napkins which does not have any antibacterial properties in it. So I wanted to create some alternative which is also eco-friendly and also very friendly to the skin of a woman.
Single-use sanitary pads predominantly available in the market are made from up to 90% plastic. They contain super-absorbent polymers in the middle layer and are designed to hold large quantities of liquid. They are made of synthetic materials that take up to 800 years to degrade. In India, over 12.3 billion single-use sanitary pads are disposed every year. Many of them end up being burnt in incinerators, releasing toxic chemicals in the air, or worse, end up in landfills.
So there's so many components and layers to it, and landfills and dump yards are not conducive to having a sanitary napkin breakdown.
Preeti set a goal to create a zero waste period. This meant she had to make every layer from scratch.
The top and the bottom layer are predominantly made of the same polymer that is used. The top layer is yellowish in color because it has antibacterial herbs, which is turmeric, vetiver and neem. It helps in preventing bacterial infections and also eliminates bad odor. And the middle layer is made of biodegradable superabsorbent polymer that is also cellulose based, mixed along with sugarcane fibers. So these are the three layers that goes into this napkin.
When the blood comes in contact with the napkin, the microbes present in it help it to degrade faster in the soil. Aerobic and anaerobic bacteria present in the soil, along with few species of fungi, break down the napkin entirely.
So when you use it, immediately bury it in the soil and just close it off and leave it for 2 weeks, and you dig it again in the same place, you will not find the napkin at all. the soil has been tested before the napkin was buried and after the napkin has completely degraded. It was found that it increases the soil's nitrogen by 20%. So it makes the soil more fertile after degradation.
Preeti's journey with this invention started in 2015. 5 years later, she received her patent, and today, she is looking to make it into the market. She says that this napkin can absorb fluids up to 1,700 times its weight and has a shelf life of up to 6 months. Currently, it takes Preeti about 3 days to make each sanitary napkin.
Since I'm making it in the laboratory right now, the time it takes for making napkins is like a little longer. But with the right resources and industry falling in place, the time will be reducing.
Taking this pad from a prototype to a full-fledged female hygiene product that is ready for sale remains one of Preeti's biggest challenges.
Reason that I'm a woman in STEM, as well as the reason that I'm working for the environment, working on a product that is eco-friendly, it makes it even more difficult for me because, people don't bet on both together. When you cross the first step, everything else will fall in place. I'm sure about it, and I hope that will definitely happen to me as well.
The United Nations estimates that there are 800 million women globally having their period on any given day. Toxic Links, an environmental advocacy organization, conducted a survey and found that more than half of the women were unaware of the harmful fate of disposable menstrual waste products. But Anne believes that it's not just up to the consumers to inform themselves about these changes.
Getting together either to change the product at source, giving information on other alternatives that are there in the market, making it easily accessible, maybe providing subsidies to the companies and people who are working in this area is it has to be a multi-pronged approach to make a difference in this arena, and it has to be done.
As much as possible, let us reduce our waste. Think of something that can be even more eco-friendly with zero waste.
Combating menstrual waste and promoting truly eco-friendly materials lies on 3 stakeholders: consumers, industries, and policymakers who must push together to bring about a real change.
The days of the legend of Cleopatra relying on natural ingredients like vegetable oils, milk and honey for everyday beauty rituals are long gone in many parts of the world. Today, the cosmetics industry offers a vast array of shower gels, creams, mascaras and perfumes to keep us looking and feeling our best. With the industry generating over 4.5 billion euros in sales in 2022 alone, it's a highly profitable business. However, it's also important to ask ourselves, is it really good for us?
People normally use between 10 and 17 personal care products every day. Here are mine. Toothpaste when I wake up, soap, shampoo and conditioner in the shower, hand wash when I need it, moisturizer, lip balm or Vaseline, a bit of perfume, some eyeliner and a bit of lipstick, and some mouthwash. Ingredients for these can come from 4 main sources: fresh water, animals like whales, plants like in that sweet rose essence, and yup, chemicals. So what's actually in these? Mineral oil, petrochemical. Paraffin oil is also a petrochemical. And other common ones listed on products are butanol or any word with butyl, anything with PEG, DEA or MEA, and hundreds of others are still derived from petrochemical sources.
I was teaching a class to PhD students, and they also didn't know. So this is not just like the general public, this is like people who are getting degrees in chemistry don't know this.
Constance Bailey at the University of Tennessee, Knoxville says the widespread use of petrochemicals is just not in public consciousness yet.
Literally every chemical that we encounter in our life is made from petroleum for the most part.
While there is evidence of skin irritation or reactions in some cases, the scientific community strongly debates their toxicity and impacts on health when dosage guidelines are followed. So it's not really much of a health concern. But the big impact of using petrochemicals is on the environment.
fracking and drilling for oil can heavily pollute the water, air, and soil. And the petrochemical plants are so polluting themselves, communities have been actively opposing them around the world, including in a region called Cancer Alley in Louisiana.
You could go past a refinery, you can see all the smoke going up into the air, right? That's pollution.
Kingsmill Bond is an analyst at Carbon Tracker who focuses on the petrochemical industry.
It's much more pollutive making petrochemicals than making petrol for your car.
Because there's also the question of what happens after use.
10 to 17 products means up to 300 chemicals being washed down the drain per person per day. And it adds up.
Microplastics, probably the best-known culprit, have been found in over 70% of fish species studied. They can dramatically change behavior, affect the larger marine environment, and when people consume them, microplastics could even cause damage to human DNA.
And it's getting worse.
One for one, petrochemicals have an even bigger impact on the climate than even the most famous enemy, oil. To produce 1 ton of oil to be combusted, around 2.5 tons of carbon dioxide are released. To produce 1 ton of petrochemicals, that number is closer to 5 tons, taking into account the energy used in production and disposal. So what is the alternative to slathering petroleum on our faces?
We have this cognitive bias towards believing that if something is natural, it is automatically good. It is better for us. And yeah, with science, we now know that is definitely not true.
Dr. Michelle Wong is a cosmetic chemist who busts myths about products on various platforms, including those spread by proponents of natural or organic beauty.
Let's start with natural. There are lots of different definitions of natural. Some companies will say you have to use over a certain percentage of natural ingredients,
which means the source is nature, like fruits or plants, but these aren't necessarily safer nor free of petrochemicals.
In the EU, they have an international standard definition, and some places use that. Other places just don't really have any regulations around it. Organic is usually to do with how the ingredients were produced in terms of how they were farmed.
This generally also doesn't mean that every ingredient is from an organic source or that it's better for the environment. And of course, these products can still have ingredients with links to petroleum. And using natural ingredients doesn't mean it's necessarily better for the environment either. Take, for example, you want to smell like a morning rose. This fragrance can be synthesized in the lab. But to squeeze out 1 gram of rose essence from nature, you would need up to 10,000 grams or 10 kilograms of rose petals.
And obviously growing the roses, harvesting, fertilizing, like creating the fertilizer, irrigating, all of that stuff, distilling as well. All of that just takes so much energy input.
Don't lose all hope yet. There is a bright spot. It's called green chemistry. The idea of synthesizing the compounds, but from renewable materials.
If we can make these from engineered microorganisms using cellulose as the feedstock rather than petroleum, then we're not reliant on digging oil out of the earth.
And it's already happening, with groups using mainly agricultural waste with a focus on sustainability. One company in the US, Amyris, has recently launched 2 personal care lines that use silica in their creams. Not from petroleum, but from sugar cane residue as a feedstock. And a Swiss company decarbonized their lipstick line by using a compound called isododecane, which helps waterproof cosmetics last longer. It was first invented as an alternative to jet fuel, and that's something it could eventually become once production happens at scale. So decarbonizing cosmetics could have a huge knock-on effect on other, more polluting industries.
Cosmetics, no, they're not like as big of a market share as like plastics or something like that. But it still matters, right? Because we still it's just the idea that everything that we need chemicals for, right? We are making out of petroleum right now. And if we were to magically say, like, all of our combustion needs have been replaced by renewables, tomorrow we don't need to drill another barrel of oil, we'd be pretty, we would be pretty screwed because we don't have other ways to make all these other molecules that we need in our world.
So, what can you do? The first solution is the most boring answer, but it is to use less and to use smarter. Do you really need the product that you're buying? And does it make sense in your context? Second, knowing what to avoid. It depends very much on your skincare needs and your priorities. And finally, where you put your money does matter. Investing in big or small brands that have shown a commitment to using green chemistry is a good idea. In the long run, oil companies will have to figure out what to do with the byproducts and the petrochemicals that we no longer want.
Oil spills, which are often a result of tanker accidents, have severe and lasting consequences. The oil film slowly spreads, causing harm to seabirds, marine animals, plants, reefs, beaches, bays, and the entire coastal ecosystem. To mitigate the damage, various measures are often taken, including the use of barriers to prevent oil from spreading and the use of burning, skimming or suction methods to remove the oil. This last solution led a British hairdresser to undertake a remarkable effort.
And I'd like a little bit of shape in my hair as well, because I usually get one length.
We'll do a nice face frame, liven you up a little bit. We'll also do a nice repair and treatment for you as well.
Oh no, my ears are glowing.
Hairdresser Adele Williams loves to pamper her clients in her hair salon in Wales. Cutting hair has always been more than just a job for her.
I've just got to...
Hair means a lot to people. I think it's not even a vain thing, really caring about how your hair looks. It's just, it is an essence of who you are and your personality. And I think if your hair's not feeling great, then you kind of don't feel great either.
It's so scary.
It's a win-win for Adele Williams, making her clients feel good while saving the environment with their hair cuttings. Everyone in the salon supports the cause.
Tom's car. Oh, Tom's car exploded on the way here.
I've always tried to recycle and things, but it always felt like there was something more that I could do. It's nice to be trying to start a business that is using a waste product to do something that's so good for the world.
People are safe, basically, the whole time. And we were blessed.
Today, this client's hair's going from blonde to pink. Her hair cuttings will end up in the back room, and with this felting device, will be turned into an oil mat that absorbs oil spills in the sea.
What I'm doing is I'm splitting it up into fine little pieces so that it resembles a piece of netting, and then this gets fed through the machine multiple times until it gets thick enough, about an inch thick really, and then it's a hair mat.
Adele Williams grew up in the town of Haverfordwest on Wales' west coast. She loves the beach and the sea near her hometown. In case of an oil spill here in future, her mats could be used. That's because hair is a good natural absorbent of grease and oil. The hair mats can soak up to 9 times their own weight in oil. According to environmental organizations, they are already being used in the USA as an eco-friendly alternative to plastic mats.
Hair is cut by hundreds of thousands of salons in the United States, about 900,000 salons that are licensed to cut about a pound or two a week. And we all know that we shampoo because hair collects oil. So we started working with a hairstylist who came up with the idea of making oil spill mats.
To prepare in case an oil spill hits Europe, Adele Williams is cooperating with the American NGO. She is optimistic because even the oil industry is now showing interest.
At the moment, I have a few companies trialling mats. Hopefully they will soon order the mats and start pushing out those polypropylene mats that they're using at the moment.
The makeover is almost ready and the customer's pleased, not only because of her new hair colour.
Getting my hair cut and being able to donate my hair to a good cause to mop up oil spills is really amazing. Nice to see you, Lottie.
Oh, it's so nice to see you too. Thank you so much.
Should I help your hair?
Hair, says the young hairdresser, is so much more than about looking good. Adele plans to continue proving just that.
As we've learned today, the Earth's resources are finite, making sustainability and conservation essential for a thriving future. If we take care of our environment today, our future generations will thank us for the planet they have inherited. I'll leave you with that and see you again next week. Goodbye and thanks for watching.